Mayhem, go ahead.
Morg. We back. Play the jingle.
Woo! Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Football Booth podcast. My name is Fennan. Joined alongside me, the one and only, I've got Mayhem. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good.
It's been a fucking crazy week, I must say. I don't really know where to start. Well, I could start off initially to say that Cam is not with us tonight. So, editing's going to be very easy this week, thank God.
It's gonna be a one and done take. Yeah, haven't heard from him. Don't know. He's MIA. Not heard from him. Possibly due to what happened in the Black Country in the Midlands on the weekend. Who knows? Although he probably didn't watch it, as we found out last week. Wow.
Yeah, well, Cam's a mystery in general, and along with that result, that was certainly a mystery in itself. And I think the best way we could start off, let's just say, right, I thought I'd be, out of goodwill, I felt bad for a friend of mine who's a United fan. And so I came in today, I thought I'll get him a nice soft drink on the way into work. And I went, here you go, mate. Got you a 7-Up. Slapped out my hand. So rude, so rude.
Yeah, there's been some torturous things going around. Is a big United fan. It was his first day back. One of the managers' first day back. Today he's had a week's holiday. And he's had a tough week because his dad's a Rangers fan. So obviously we were recovering from last week, and then obviously playing Kilmarnock and Willie Collum shit in the bed and just handing out shit that wasn't there. And then he's come back to being pumped. So he started at 12 and all the memes were coming out.
And he went home at half 12.
He says, I really wish there was holiday on the day. And then our boss, Lisa, says, we could probably sort that, but there's only 7 minutes. Even our boss got involved. Even the boss got involved. But yeah, I'd have pulled a sickie, mate. No way. If roles were reversed, our biggest rivals would beat us 7-0. You wouldn't see me. Not for a good couple of weeks.
That's it, mate. If it's that bad, just avoid social interaction at all costs.
100%. No,
And it was, it's the talk of the town wherever you go, whether you're at work or even if you're at home watching TV, it is everywhere. And it makes no sense to start elsewhere than the game at Anfield between Liverpool United. 7-0 thumping by Liverpool. And of course you'll have Liverpool fans turn around and say that, we got our Liverpool back. This is the old Liverpool that we're familiar with, but I think we've really got to express how dire United were in that game. To
100%.
concede 6 goals in the second half.
It was a complete capitulation. It's a try and a conversion, man. Like, it's ridiculous to be talking about, being 7-0 down in a football match. And I think that's it. The first half was tight. Liverpool get their goal and go in, narrowly in front. And I think it was an even game, anything could happen. In the second half, United just start really, really slow. Nunes scores within whatever it was, a couple of minutes, and
Yeah.
and they've an uphill battle. But this is, United fans have got to be a bit carried away. And a fellow I work with and a few other people who was out having a drink. I was out watching the Barcelona game the other week that they won. and there was a big song and dance when they beat them, and I just said, there's still no bite down grit in this team. Like Casemiro is, he sweeps across and he's a clever footballer and he's good on the ball, but there's no bite down grit in
That's
this
it.
team.
Like it just feels like there's just like that little spark of individual brilliance on rare occasions. Of course, like when you just said there with the Barcelona game where it took a bit of brilliance from Anthony to score a fantastic goal to win them the game 2-1, and then like the first half, like you said, very tight. United had their chances, and United fans were sitting there can say what could have been if Anthony had managed to pick out Rashford earlier with that one chance they had earlier. What if Bruno Fernandes could have converted that header that he had? But the second half, it just felt like, especially when it was only 1-2-0, there was that strong sense that United were really panicking, especially amongst the back line.
Look, and yet you don't. The result's a freak result. Right? United
100%,
are
yeah.
not. United are not 7-0 worse than Liverpool across the season. They were on the day, but they're not across the season. So it's a freak result. But I look at, and I've had this talk many a times that I think Ten Hag has done a lot right. In the cup final, he made a lot of good decisions, and he's been praised for the way he's dealt with a lot of things at United. But I still look at their defence and question it. I think Luke Shaw is, if he ever had it, he certainly lost it. I think I'm surprised Wan-Bissaka didn't play at Anfield. I thought when he come on in the cup final, he was very good. He's a far better defender than Dalot. Questionable about going forward. Dalot's probably be a bit
Yeah.
better, but I'm surprised he didn't start. And then Varane and Martinez have been good um, over the last couple of weeks, so there was no real surprise there. But I still look at that defense and think it's so easy to get at those wing backs, so easy, and that was it. Luke Shaw completely lost his head. Just completely lost it. Bruno Fernandes, the lack of leadership that was shown in that game was moronic. Like just throwing himself about, throwing his arms up,
Yeah, yeah.
complaining. Just that isn't what a captain does. See what happens. See if you're a captain of a football club at Man United. Right, it's 3-0 down about your biggest rivals. You get the boys together and you say, right, the game's probably fucking gone here, but we concede no more goals. Right, we concede no more goals. We play from this minute onwards. We try and pinch one. We reduce the scoreline, so this isn't sung about. Right, that, that
Yeah.
that's the kind of bite down that needed, and it was too wishy-washy, and Liverpool just overrun them. And yeah, it was everything that could have gone wrong did in that second half. Things were bouncing kindly. Obviously, Salah, his second goal just bounces to him, and things were just, everything was coming off that
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong at that point for United, yeah.
But yeah, just I think Ten Hag obviously knows more about football than me, but I think he got it wrong. I think when you set up and I look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, I would have my most dangerous player playing on that side. I would have had Rashford parked there, running off him, coming in on his right foot, because I don't think Trent is any way, shape, or form equipped to deal with anyone of Rashford's ability at the moment, the way he's playing. And it seemed that it was always that Fernandes up against him, and Rashford was kind of more through the middle, and Weghorst was just running around like he does.
Yeah, Vekos was, well, in essence, he was basically like a number 10 in that game as well. It didn't really feel like United played a higher line that we've been more familiar with under Ten Hag. And despite having Anthony and Rashford go forward and then Vekos sort of be that anchor amongst that front three, I don't know, it just looked very unfamiliar from what we've seen as of late with United and how Ten Hag would usually approach certain games like this.
look, everyone knew that Liverpool were going to come out firing. Liverpool season has been flat, and they needed something to ignite it. They've obviously now a chance for top four. Amazingly, after how bad the
I
season's been,
know,
I think
yeah.
all of a sudden they're back in that hunt, which seemed miles away a few weeks ago. So they're winning, they're beating teams in and around them. Obviously, they've got points at Newcastle. I think we see their fixtures. The fixtures are pretty tough. I think they play City away, they play Arsenal at home, they play Chelsea maybe away or at Anfield. So they've got tough games coming up, and that'll ultimately define their season. What they can do against the bigger teams if they do get back into a little bit of form. But it was just mad. It was obviously Liverpool wanted to stop any chat about United going for a title. And they did that. I've been saying for a little while, I don't think United are in the title race. And people
Yeah,
were going to
yeah.
question it. I never thought they were there. And I think it's been a good building season for Ten Hag. He's had blips, he's had the difficult moments, he's had the 4-0 at Brentford, obviously the 7-0 here. But he's responded well to these setbacks. So I've no doubt that United will dust himself down and get himself in the right frame of mind to obviously they're playing in midweek there in the Europa League. So no doubt that they'll dust themselves down and probably look forward to that game because, in football, you're only as good as your last result. So, they can go out and right a few wrongs on Thursday night and, kind of put that result behind them. But the pressure's on because if they lose, the pressure will build that you will beat 7-0 by your biggest rival and then you've gone and lost in the Europa League. So it's a pro and a con. It's a pro if they go and produce a good performance and win the game. And obviously a con if they perform like they did on Sunday and get beat again. But a mad second half.
Honestly, mate, it feels like it's completely blown wide open amongst the top five teams there. Like Liverpool now being in that top five, and then we see the likes of Arsenal who just about came away with a win against Bournemouth after coming from 2 goals down. City, we've spoken about multiple times of how much of a topsy turvy season they've had so far. Tottenham losing to Wolves over the weekend. Newcastle starting to drop off as well. It just feels like truly anything can happen now. And like away from this 7-0 result from United, things have gone ever so well for United and Ten Hag. It looked as if a lot of people were backing United going into that Liverpool game, especially after that Barcelona result and winning the Carabao Cup. I mean, certainly United and the way that they've been able to be set up and the mentality that has been drilled into them by Ten Hag, that they would be able to bounce back and take advantage of the other teams around them and still keep themselves amongst that top five, so to speak.
I think they'll get top four. Like I said, I think he's dealt with setbacks really well, and we'll
Yeah.
see come Thursday. But we'll see come the weekend when they're in action in the Premier League, and we'll see what they've got.
Mm.
And they're obviously still in the FA Cup as well.
Yep.
Um, so there's bits and pieces for them to play with. They'll hear about that game for the rest of their lives, and that's the bit that I think. I think Gary Neville was alluding to it, and certainly, you could see from Roy Keane in the studio afterwards that it just the team that they played in, no matter what, you know, that stuff just don't wouldn't happen at 3-0. It'll be dig in and right, we don't get in. Look, they had bad results. We can remember Liverpool going to Old Trafford and getting big results against them. Um, Gerrard scoring penalties there, and Liverpool certainly having their day, but never that. Never, that is like
Yeah. Never to that magnitude.
that was like the when Arsenal were that strange team under Wenger and 8-2 at Old Trafford
That's
and
it. Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But look, it happens Obviously we've seen Villa beat Liverpool 7-0 in recent history, so it does happen. We've seen Leicester, was it beat Southampton 9-0 or get beat 9-0 or whatever it was, that
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
seen some huge results that, are just complete and utter freak results. And some days everything comes off and nothing works. Just unfortunately for United fans, it's their biggest day of the season. When it comes to just league games, Liverpool away is is a huge thing. And I think, Gary Neville had called it. He'd said it's easy for a Man United player to fall apart in this stadium. He called it 3-0. And they did. They all fell apart to a man. I don't think you can say, yeah, he can come out with his head held high. They just capitulated completely.
Nah, and it will sting even more with it being against Liverpool, fierce rivals. I think that's what really will hurt the most of United and everyone associated with them was the fact that it's I think we've all been there. You as a Celtic fan, me as a Cardiff fan, we've all have had that, that sort of same situation where we've come off the back of a heavy defeat to our biggest rivals, and it's very difficult to come back from and to really, look ahead to find any silver lines in this, in this season. But I think with United, there definitely will be, without a doubt. Like you said, they're still in the FA Cup, knocked out Barcelona, who are arguably one of the strongest teams left in the Europa League that are now out, and Premier League still definitely in for a run for the top four. I think come the end of this season that United will still be up there, and they could certainly go the distance in Europe and in the FA Cup.
Yeah, look, it makes you fall out of love for the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
These results, you're not want to look at at football. Um, it'll take Monday morning that they'll be hurting probably more tonight because they probably flicked the game off at 3-4-0. They probably didn't watch it all the way through, so they'll be hurting more today when they're having to go in and deal with the face up in work and in school and to everyone else. Obviously having a few jibes and that, so that'll probably be the I'll probably be glad that today's over and they're home and they know, like I said, Liverpool sing about that game for the rest of the time,
Hmm.
so they're never going to get away from that result. But football can turn around quickly, and I think that's probably the message that Ten Hag will be delivering. That with a chance now on Thursday to go and quiet down that result. Lose the game, and it'll be different. But I don't know where the game is on Thursday. I don't know if it's at Old Trafford or if it's away from home. But after that result, I'd expect to see a lot of green and yellow scarves that haven't been as prevalent once they've got on this run. But
So they are at home to Real Betis on Thursday, and
yeah, I'd
Real
expect a lot of
Betis,
green and yellow
Real
scarves.
Betis. I mean, certainly can't underestimate them. Sitting in fifth in the La Liga at the moment, and found themselves at this stage of the competition for a reason. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's the perfect occasion for United to bounce back.
Now, why would they fear anyone in Spain? You've beat the runaway leaders.
This is it,
Um,
yeah.
and Liverpool will take massive confidence from a team that you know they beat their 7-0 beat the runaway leaders in La Liga. I think Real Madrid didn't have a shot or something against Barca when they played them recently. So Liverpool take big confidence going into their game at the Bernabeu that it isn't completely dead. Um, but for United, I think Thursday can't come quick enough. They need a big response, need a result, need to just get this put behind them, and then start to build and go on another run
Yeah.
and notch up some wins and try and quiet down because if we get to the end of the season, United finish third and Liverpool finish fifth, who's going to have the last laugh? But it'll be a game, no matter what. It'll be a game that is um, now embroidered in Liverpool history, and they'll sing about it every time that they play them. So they'll have to relive it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there'll be banners out left, right, and centre the next time they clash for sure. It was a very strange game. I watched that Copa del Rey game last week with Real Madrid Barcelona, and I really feel that this could suit Liverpool down to a T in this second leg, because all Barcelona did was catch them on the break, and Liverpool can be a very dangerous side on the break, as we've seen from them in previous occasions. Obviously, I mean, the deficit is massive between Real Madrid and Liverpool at the moment, and so I do feel that Real Madrid will look to, play keep ball and frustrate them from the first whistle. But yeah, Barcelona didn't look great whatsoever. It was, again, it was a very poor goal that they conceded as well, an own goal by Militao, and then ultimately Real Madrid were on top of the rest of that game, and so it could go one way or the other. Either they allow Real Madrid to have possession and try to kill the game off early, or it'll be the case of if they can do what Barcelona did, but 3 times over, of course, and be clinical. So it's, of course, Liverpool could take the 7-0 win over United with especially having that as ammunition going into that second leg, but truly a game that you can't write Liverpool off just yet, but at the same time, it feels that Real Madrid, they could kill the game off early doors.
Yeah, one goal probably does. But we'll see. We know Liverpool are going to come out and press.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what Liverpool are going to do and try and get in their faces and make an early goal and put them under pressure. And the Bernabeu isn't the easiest play. It isn't. It's not like a crowd that stays with them. That they are very loud and very passionate, but they're also very demanding. And I think, sometimes playing in the Bernabeu, if things are maybe a bit rocky, it's probably is a difficult place to play, with the level that the Real Madrid aspire to be. So if Liverpool could get a couple of goals in front, the crowd could easily turn and that could go in Liverpool's favour. But big ifs, like I said, I think, Madrid are probably too old, too wise in the tooth to let themselves become susceptible to that.
This
I
is
think
it, yeah. The Champions League is their bread and butter, and they've proven that multiple times in the competition, that nothing will faze them and they'll always come out on top. But I tell you what though, Mayhem, good week for the pair of us. We're going to start with you. You came off the back of the Viaplay Cup final win over Rangers, and the good times continues to roll. You came away with a final 5-1 victory against St Mirren. A game that was quite, it seemed quite shaky in the first 35 to 40 minutes, and then St Mirren going down to 10 men, and the penalty. There was controversy with a penalty shout as well. Seemed a bit crazy, and then Celtic then ran away winners at the end. Want to shed your light on what your thoughts are from that game?
Yeah, I think there was some old demons that we had to put to rest in Paisley, obviously from earlier on in the season. And maybe they loomed large after 6 minutes when the penalties awarded. Um, a lot of a lot of lot of sort of back and forth about the St Mirren penalty. I think looking at it and where Greg Taylor's arm is, it was always going to be given. You
Mm.
know, and that's just the ball's flicked it in from 2 yards away, and 5 years ago it's never a penalty. The ref's looking directly at it, and the ref decides it's not. He's 5 yards away, and the ref says no, and then obviously it slows down and his arms out, so it was always going to be given.
Yeah.
Um, the boy tucks the pen away. And we're one down again in Paisley, and I think people are starting to cast their mind back to the poor performance that we had there before the World Cup, and the only loss in our record this season, and we're starting to think here we go again. But well, the first half wasn't fantastic. We didn't play scintillating football. There were still massive, drastic comparisons from when we were there earlier in the season. Earlier in the season, there was a lot of changes. It was really disjointed. They were in the game so much more. We had all the ball, even before the red card, and
Yeah.
Callum McGregor was picking the gaps the way he does and bringing us forward, and we were getting up, and then it was just all kind of just kind of petering out. Days of Maeda wasn't having his best day. Um, and yeah, the first half was a bit of a mute point, and then Charles Dunn, or whatever the fuck his name is, plays a slack ball back. Kyogo, the pest he is in, and he's pulled down, and he obviously this absolute stonewall red card.
Yeah.
Even a
Yeah.
Scottish ref couldn't get it wrong. Um, but for me, it's a pen. I'm super confused. Yeah, if the freeze frames that have been released, for some reason, sports scene when they're reviewing it, they decide to go with a freeze frame before one freeze frame before, when the next freeze frame clearly shows Kyogo's foot's on the line and the guy still has hold of his shoulder. So the ref initially gives the penalty, gets it right. Stuart Dallas at VAR, whose dad was famously, you know, let go for cheating and favouring a certain team. I'm sure you can't guess who. That would be the same team
Yeah.
that's
Aberdeen.
conceded.
Yeah.
That would be the same team that's conceded zero penalties. The only team to do that in Scotland. Google it, kids. Look it up. Um, the rest give the penalty whatever and puppet it was in the middle. I can't even remember him there. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. He gives the penalty. Dallas and VAR is reviewing it. Somehow drags it back via free kick, which was no shock because as soon as it was it wasn't even a 50-50 call. It was like a 70-30.
Mm.
It's quite clear, but if there's any chance, then they're going to drag it back. And ultimately we go in 1-0 down. I think Ange makes the perfect change at halftime. I was thinking to myself, it's just not Maeda's day. They're down to 10 men. We don't need Maeda's work rate here. We don't need him running back. We don't need him pinching because, they're defending in a flat back five with the four, and then, there's really nobody. So we don't need Maeda chasing back. We don't need his work rate, what he gives. We'll need him more probably in midweek when we play Hearts at home. So,
Yeah. So Abada
um,
was probably better suited to start that game,
yeah,
essentially. Yeah.
but, Abada comes on straight away. He's a little bit more direct, trying a few things. Um, and then, it's down that side. I think it's maybe even Alistair Johnson that whips the ball across that causes the kind of scuffle and the mayhem in the box. And Jota on the ground manages to get a toe on the ball and kind of like screw it in. And we're level. And then, the place just rises again. We realised that there isn't this hoodoo that seemed to be looming over us in Paisley. We've scored. We're in the game. And then quite quickly afterwards, obviously, um, we whip in the free kick. Alistair Johnson gets up at the back post. Whether it's an OG or it's his, I don't know. He's rising up. I think it comes more off the defender, but the ball goes in the net, and that's all that we really give a
Yeah.
shit
And the
about.
goal was given to him as well, Alistair Johnson. That's his first Celtic goal.
And from there, 2-1. and then we're a wee bit more relaxed. Abada then gets the ball, dances through a few fires in 3-1. We're in cruise control, um, and then from there, we're popping the ball around, changes are made. Abada again, beats a few, clips it over. Matt O'Reilly finally breaks his duck, so that absolute ball bag on commentary that tells us every time. Oh, Matt O'Reilly's had the most shots in the Scottish Premier League. Quite actually, it's not the Scottish Premier League, you fucking dickhead anymore. The SPL don't exist, but Scottish Premier League without scoring a goal. So he finally breaks that duck, and they can't say that shit anymore. And then we get a penalty. Golgic, who's the biggest hatchet merchant in world football, just for some reason stupidly pulls Dano, like pulls his shirt in the middle of the box again. Even VAR in Scotland couldn't get it wrong. Um, he backs himself to take the penalty. Not a fantastic penalty by any shape at all. It's kind of squirmed under him, but he's two goals for Celtic now, both against St Mirren. So unfortunately for him, we play Hearts next and not St Mirren. But yeah, overall, these games now are just about churning them out. Getting the points, keeping the 9 point gap. We're obviously at home to Hearts on Wednesday. They go away to an informed Hibs team that are fourth and looking to chase down Hearts. Easter Road has always proved to be. Normally they give them a good game, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Sky Sports fantastic coverage again because there's three Scottish games on. There's us v Hearts, there's them versus Hibs and someone else, and there's a women's Super League game on, and that's it. So fantastic coverage from Sky Sports again. But I guess the benefit is we don't have to see Monster Munch looking twat Chris Boyd on our TV screens because no doubt that Lego fucking muncher would have been there for Sky Sports. But overall, we're still 9 points clear. The good times keep rolling. And there isn't. I don't think there's anyone in the league, including that lot, that if we play our stuff like we see for the first 64 minutes of the final before we gave away a slack goal and we had to head a few balls away from the box. But when we play our stuff, we're just by far and away country mile the best team in Scotland. Only two
Yeah.
teams have had more points. The only two Celtic teams have had more points than this team at this stage. That was Brendan Rodgers' Invincibles and Martin O'Neill's team. So they're up in the upper echelon. So 250 goals now in 99 games for Ange Postecoglou. So
Just goes to show how brilliant of a job he's done. The fact that he's in the same reckoning as Brendan Rodgers when he had that brilliant season with Celtic, and Martin O'Neill, who obviously goes down Celtic history for the work he did with Celtic, just goes to show like what a revelation he's been.
I think, see, it's only now, like when Wim Janssen stopped the 10, right? And obviously that was a great season, and we've got those players, Hemrick and all these boys, and Wim managed to obviously stop them from winning the 10. It's only now, looking back, that he kind of gets the respect that he deserves, and I think because we're living in it now, Ange Postecoglou will only really get the recognition, even though he's loved and he's adored by all of the Celtic family. We're it fills us with joy even more that you can go back to all these sound bites and these tweets set by Christmas and all this carry on that mob was saying. So the fact that that's there, he's adored. We wanted him to succeed just because they thought he was going to be so shy, and he's been fantastic. But I think when you look at the project that he come in at, the Rangers have just won the league. Celtic were having a mass clear out, losing players like Odsonne Edouard, Ryan Christie, which no matter what your thoughts on him, he was a decent player for
Yeah, yeah,
us.
yeah.
Christopher Ayer was leaving. We had a goalkeeper problem because Fraser Forster wasn't coming back. Um, Vias Barkas, shit. Um, he just had such an inflated squad of shit. Albion Ajeti, dog meat. Mikey Johnson, dog meat. Fucking the list goes on. Christopher Julian that was a okay player for Celtic. Maybe even a good play. You know what I mean? We'll forever have that. The Europa League nights,
Yeah.
and obviously you scored in the cup final and that. Um, but he was injured, been injured for a long time. Couldn't get him. You couldn't seem to get him back fit. And there was a lot of people that were, Elyounoussi that had been probably one of our better players
Hmm.
under Lennon was going back to Southampton, so we were losing him. So they needed this mass clear out.
Yeah.
We needed to bring in um some some serious players into the team, and the Edouard question was kind of hanging over us for a long time, and eventually, obviously he gets to move to Palace, and we go and he builds his team. The first derby we lose 1-0 at their place, and we're chasing. It was if we don't win that game, I can remember watching it with my bro. It was away at Aberdeen, and I think we were one up, and then it was one each. And I remember saying to my bro, "See if he doesn't win here today, they're gonna fold in on him like." Right.
Hmm.
And Jota scored the goal, and we win 2-1. And it's just kicked on from there. Just the momentum has ramped up. We obviously went on to win the double last season with the first trophy in the bag again this season. And yeah, looking good. Obviously, we've play Hearts twice in a week here. We've got them in the league at home on Wednesday, which I think will be not comfortable because they're the third best team in the league. I'm going to take anyone lightly, but I think it'll be easier for us to navigate. And then obviously we play them in the Scottish Cup on the weekend at Tynecastle. I think that'll be a far more difficult game for us
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
and get a
Big
result.
spectacle there. Yeah.
So yeah, a big week. If we get through that, we're back at Hampden, back in the semi-final. And let's be honest, those boys are barring a miracle, and um, they don't bless themselves a lot. But I'm sure there's a few sneaky people across the city blessing themselves. Barring a miracle, the league's dead, right? So we can, if we keep going and they drop points, we can wrap it up before the split, and we look relentless. So the pressure's on them. Michael Beale just utter gob. See if you don't win a trophy, right? See if we win the league and he doesn't reduce the points total. So say we go on and win this league by 15 points. So we win the rest of the games, draw the other game at Ibrox after the split, and we win the league by 15 points, and then they don't win the Scottish Cup. He's getting sacked.
Yeah. He'll be gone.
He will not make it. But if he does not get a trophy and he doesn't reduce the points total, he's getting sacked. So it'll be the manager merry-go-round again, and they'll be rebuilding for next season, bringing in the next Pep Guardiola, whoever the fuck they'll be linked with Pep leaves City, and they'll be like, oh, why can we not go out and get Pep? Just because you play in blue, mate, don't mean he's gonna come up the road.
Because your mouths are
So,
dirty.
but yeah, look, first half obviously we were a little bit disappointed, but second half we were you know, decent. I
Yeah.
still think I still think we with another gear. I think that's the scary bit. When Celtic fans obviously that watch us week in week out, and you watch every game, and you see some of the stuff that the baby played against Aberdeen and in the first half at home the week before the cup final, like there's us going through the gears. And even though we score five at St Mirren, you're still thinking with a couple more gears here that we could easily accelerate into. And I think that's the scary part for the rest of the league. St Mirren are having a really good season. They're up in the top six. They're probably going to make the split and be in the top half of the split,
Yeah.
and that's somewhere where we go and we win 5-1. So, yep, but we enjoy it, and then again, we knuckle down and get focused in for the game at home. No doubt we'll make a few changes as Ange normally does.
Yeah.
For for only a couple of days rest, we may see Haksabanovic come in, who looked decent. We may see Matt O'Reilly obviously scored. He may come in. Leo Labada may come in. I know that Ralston's been on the bench, so we may reintroduce him, but Alistair Johnston's playing really well. So there's a few question marks, maybe a few
Yeah,
people
was
that,
brilliant
that
in that
could.
cup final as well, Alistair Johnson, and then of course went on to get his first goal in a Celtic top, and so Ralston will definitely have a tough time shifting him out of that first 11
I
for
think he'll
sure.
play this week, whether he'll play at home against Hearts or I'll play in the cup. But I think Ralston will play this week.
Mm.
Um, just to get minutes back into him. He's been one of the biggest success stories. I don't think when Ange come in, everyone wanted him out the door, and everyone's happy with him at Celtic. He's a squad player, happy days. Um, Wanted to go to Everton on my FM career though, the ball bag, but but it caused me a problem trying to find a right back. But but yes, I think everyone's happy with him, and we look across the squad. Starfelt, I have a real affinity for him. Not everyone at Celtic does, but I really like him. Cameron Garvick is, just absolutely Rolls Royce of a player.
Yeah, even when he tries to score from the halfway line.
Even then,
See that
and
with
then
Ange as well when he goes Cam.
uh, it's getting memed, 100%. But Greg Taylor's been fantastic now for a wee while, and he's one that Ange has really brought on. The midfield is just dynamite. Hatati's fantastic. O'Reilly on his day is superb. The angles that he finds. Aaron Mooy's been
I just
fantastic.
think your midfield is absolutely elite right now. The fact that you got Matt O'Reilly on the bench, I mean, just obviously, of course, Aaron Moy has come in since Matt O'Reilly's been out and has been superb and has managed to maintain his place in the side, and that you've still got Matt O'Reilly coming off the bench just goes to show like how fantastic your midfield ranks really are.
Yeah, the business has been superb.
Yeah.
And obviously I come on as well, who looks okay. Allows Callum to go play a wee bit further up. He come on in the cup final and sort of played next to Callum there just to stabilize us a wee bit. So he looks like a decent squad player that's come in. Um, and yeah, the front three are so dynamic, whoever they are. Kyogo is obviously the striker, and then pick who you want on the wings. Daisy Maeda for me is a frustrating player to watch. He frustrates the life of me because you see the things he can do, and then sometimes it looks like he's not got a clue. But then
I
Abada
just feel he's
is,
one of those players that just gets caught in 15 different minds at
I think,
once.
I think his legs are working too fast for his head.
Yeah.
That's the problem sometimes. But Abada's the same. That boy, I drift inside and have about 12 shots a game. So there's a balance to be found. I think he'll probably go with Abada. Um, on Wednesday night. I think it'll be Jota, Kyogo, and Abada that start the game. And the midfield could literally be anyone. But obviously Aaron was playing fantastic. Callum will play, and I imagine Hatate will be in there.
Hmm.
And then it's about those boys coming off the bench. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if Haksabanovic or someone like that got a start because he's come. He should have scored in the cup final. He obviously
Yeah, he had a big chance right at the end, didn't he?
broke away and he come on and looked sharp. So again, good business,
Yeah.
finding him. So yeah, delighted. Another one sort of ticked off now. We're into this March time where it's just about chalking these wins up, getting them done, getting them dusted, and building up to Trophy Day.
Happy days, mate. I see that Mikey Johnston has declared himself for the Republic of Ireland now as well. So I was like, oh, so that's another country that you can not get called up for.
Put him in a box and send him to Ireland and let him fucking play for Shamrock Rovers. I don't ever want to see him back at the football club. You better fucking stick fragile on that box though, because the cunt breaks every 2 minutes. But put him in a box and fuck him over there, and go play in that new. Who is it? That Bohemians that have just released that their away shirt next season has the Palestine flag on it, or the Vipa, so the Palestinian flag. So how about you go?
I might
Go
have
go
to look
play
at
in
it.
that.
I might have to go check this shirt out. I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, it's nice, So, but how about you go, Mikey? I don't even bother come back to Glasgow. Fuck off. Either stay in Portugal or go direct to fucking somewhere for Portugal. Don't come back. Otherwise, Maeda's gonna fucking chase you around the park and hit you with your fucking bread bin, you little shite bag.
Oh, so much. It's a term of endearment, Mikey, if you're listening. You're not.
He may well be. Is that irrelevant? He might be.
Hi, Mikey.
Sliding into my DMs, giving me shite.
Oh, mate. Go do fuck all.
He's 3 stone soaking wet, so. And he can't kick a fucking ball, you know?
No, exactly. We won a fucking derby, finally! Jesus Christ. How many times have we come on this podcast and said that Cardiff never show up to derbies? We've lost the last 3 home derbies to Bristol in the league. And my fucking goodness, what a breath of fresh air it feels that we were the team that looked like we showed up and fucking put in 200%.
Was it not the first time in 3 years that you had been even in front against them?
Probably. Like, I see, it's been free this, been free that. Regardless, my goodness, what a fucking performance on Saturday. Unbelievable performance.
Yeah, I obviously didn't see the full game, but watched highlights. The first half looked, I imagine, very tense to watch.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It was sort of back and forth. There was some the I'm sure we're just talking about the first half, so don't chop him off too much. But Allsop in goal was fantastic in the first half. That moment where it bounces in the box and he throws himself at it to block. Obviously, after the goal line clearance, the winger, who was the winger they had.
So a ball came in and it was Alex Scott. This is a player that Bristol City fans and other English fans have been absolutely glugging off about, by the way, and did absolutely fuck all in that game.
It was the winger though, Scuds or something. Isn't his name? But it's not his name. But he looked like he gave you a few problems. Was Joe Rules playing left back? Was he?
Joe Rules was playing left wing back, yeah, and honestly put in such a shift that game.
Well, the right winger looked like Ikiya. From what I see, everything was coming down their right wing. There was a couple of deep crosses that caused problems in the first half. Obviously, the goal line clearance, and then the one where Weierman clatters into Allsop as well. So it looked to be a bit back and forth. In the first half, looked tense to be watching as a City fan. But looks like you rode that out, but you break down that first half because obviously I didn't watch it. I only watched the highlights.
Yeah. So no, I think you put it pretty perfectly. It was a very tense first half where it was very end to end. Bristol City having the best chance that first half, as you mentioned, where ball comes in, Alex Scott heads it across goal, Allsop's beaten, Kipre thankfully on the line, and then the follow up is kept out by Allsop, and I mean even with Allsop there, then there's still Kipre and McGuinness behind him, and so it looked as if that it would have been kept out regardless, but you can never be too sure, and it was a fantastic save regardless by Ryan Allsop. I thought it was superb up until that 6 minutes were added on, and then just had that few seconds of stupidity where he comes off his line, and even though McGuinness and Kipre have it covered and can comfortably head it back to him, he comes off his line, comes out of his area, and as Kipre heads it back, it goes right into the arms of Allsop. He's outside the area, handball, and it's an easy red card, and so step up Perry and G, he goes in goal and keeps himself a clean sheet, something that Swansea have failed to do in the last 20 games, but we won't talk about that too much. I mean, Perry and G, he'll play anywhere, Gaffer. And then
He certainly will.
He honestly will. He even came out and said, like, I'll probably try striker next time out.
all,
And
all about 4 foot of him. He looked like a boy, didn't he? And the
I was
goal.
watching it with Maria, and she was like, "Oh, he looks so small in the goal." I was just like, "Yeah, welcome to my world when I was playing in goal." Like,
But yeah, it's obviously first half tense, and
tense
then
first half, and then the second half. I mean, the whole 90 minutes, each to their own. Everyone was fantastic. Rawsey put in a fantastic shift at left wing back. He's played left back before, so it's not like he's been completely unfamiliar with playing in that role, and it just seemed to really suit him down to a T in that game where he can get forward and put balls in and get back and just break up play and bring the full ball forward again, and so yeah, no, he was brilliant. Defense was brilliant. Sawyers dictated the play from start to finish. Ryan Wintle, superb, sets up the first goal to Sori Kaba, who I think is honestly his goal was fantastic as well. How
some header that like.
like how his body moves like that and gets on the end of that ball is just purely magical. And honestly, I thought the header was going wide essentially, and then clips off the inside the post, and the nestles in the back of the net, sends the Cardiff City Stadium into raptures. And our highest home attendance all season, 25,000, and the place is bouncing. And then another player, Jane Philogene, who worked his absolute boots off the entire game. Absolutely superb. Absolutely, and then the goal from Philogene as well, cuts in, and then when he takes that shot on his weaker foot as well, I'm thinking, it looked like a very tame effort at the start, and then just seeing the replay of how much he managed to get behind it and how he managed to pinpoint it near post and beat O'Leary, and then again, and then at that point it seemed quite difficult to lose the game from then on. Obviously, with the Allsop red card, there was that small bit of my mind telling me, saying "Oh, here we go. Bristol City going to score this free kick from just outside the box, and then they're going to go and get a late equaliser from this." But I think just the work rate from start to finish was just incredible, absolutely incredible. I thought Shea Ojo was fantastic as well. Because looking at the lineup at the start of the game, I thought they were going to go with Shea Ojo as left wing back, and then Rawsey was going to slot into the middle with Sawyers and Wintle, but instead they put Sabri put Ojo as number 10, and then Philogene was the right wing back, and then Ojo on the Rawls on the left, and it seemed it could have gone one way or the other, but he was unbelievable, Shea Ojo, and
It looked like his best game in a City shirt.
yeah, 100%.
The body position to play that 10 role, he was fantastic. Some of the takes in midfield, and he's on the half turn already and getting straight on the attack. The right wing back, his energy levels are fantastic. And again, I'm only seeing extended highlights, but he's involved in everything, and he's hassling. I think he hassles a chance for Connor Wickham to sort of swivel on and puts one over the bar. But
Yeah.
he looked like a constant menace. From what I see, I don't know who got man of the match, but obviously with his goal,
It was Jaden Philogene in the end. Yeah, it
I
actually was Philogene in the end. He got it.
He deserved it, from what I saw. But yeah, big result.
Yeah, and I mean we've only got him on loan, and by all means he'll be very difficult to keep hold of for another season. Like I said, I think he's been one of our most standout players this season, Jaden Philogene, and I'm sure Villa will be keeping close tabs on him and will be assessing his progression and whether he goes to a better championship side, so to speak, because there will be better championship sides than us at the moment that won't make that top 6 cut, that then go into the playoffs, and for those that go up, and then perhaps there'll be bottom half Premier League sides that may be interested. But I feel that's one piece of business that I'd absolutely love Sabri to assess in the summer and see if we can get him back for another year that can really push us in the direction that we deserve to be going in, end up where we deserve to be, and that is in that top six, regardless. And, like I said, he's been superb. Connor Wickham, I know I said last week that I don't think he was ready to play 90 minutes just yet, but he started again off the back of the Norwich game the previous week and again worked his bollocks off. And it seems at the moment, the way we're playing and how Sabri has set us up, that playing with two big strikers that are, dragging players towards them and allowing space for the likes of Ojo and Philogene to find space in behind and create threats has paid off massively. And there's such a feel good vibe round the club at the moment, which is so refreshing. The season's far from over. We could take this game as our best result this season, but it's all but over. We've still got big games to play. We've still got the Jacks to come in a few weeks' time. We go to Preston away next, and then it's just really trying to replicate the performance from Saturday and continuing to put in 200% as the weeks go on, and just hope for the best come late April, early May.
Yeah. I think, we said early doors this season he's produced a really, really strong performance at home against Norwich, and we said that's the bar. Norwich obviously that they're in the top six. They got a good result at the Den at the weekend, and they propelled himself back into the playoff picture. And Wagner's gone in there, and I think he's won 5 out of 7 or something. So
Yeah.
they're building. But I think everyone expected Norwich to be, up there with Burnley and Sheffield United and Borough that look to be chasing Sheffield United down at the moment. But that was the bar, and I don't think you have got anywhere near that bar this week. A lot of performances have been, stuff that we've said that Cardiff haven't been, since Sebray's come in. They've been a bit harder. They've been a bit more gritty. There've been some late goals and snuck some points, but that looked like the first time that the tactics were spot on. The team was all pulling in the right direction. It was a complete performance for 90 minutes. Even when Perry G puts himself in net, and even then, from that free kick, it deflects. It could go anywhere, and that's the kind of stuff over the last few months that would have just pinged in the top corner against Cardiff, and it thankfully gone wide. And I think when Perry G catches the ball from like a wee flick on, it's maybe the loudest roar of the day, probably maybe even topples the goal. So, maybe a couple. I'm sure he'll not get the chance again, but maybe if he had a few more stints in goal, he realises that he takes that and can probably drop to the floor and hold the ball for a little bit longer and push the team up. But I'm sure his heart's going a dozen a minute as the ball goes towards him. But good result, really, really good.
Brilliant,
obviously
absolutely brilliant.
Get the duck off your back against Bristol City, that tin pot team, and then obviously sets you up nicely now to ease the pressure again into the likes of Preston away and stuff like that. To know that there is a small buffer and no one down there is really making waves. Obviously, Blackpool got beat by Burnley. I see that Wigan were
drew against Birmingham, and they were behind for the majority of the game. Huddersfield look like the only team that I can see certainly going down at the moment.
But it just, it doesn't look like there's anyone really mounting, a charge. So you picking up these results as you are at the moment, it's giving you that buffer.
Yeah.
And it does take off the added pressure that a trip to Deepdale would be, and obviously the pressure will be right back on in a few weeks when Swansea come to town. We know that no matter what, whether you were 24th or 23rd or first and second, the passion is going to be the same. That's why it's a great derby. It encapsulates a country rather than just a city. So yeah, obviously it'll be a big day in South Wales, but you've got to be a bit of a buffer to go and perform, to go and to go into that derby now with some real form and to right a few wrongs, um, and maybe sit Robbo on the bench and just pat him on the head and say, look, not for you today, you hothead, and
Yeah, maybe a
go and
blessing in
produce
disguise that he got that fucking hamstring injury in the end, you know?
go and produce the same level. Because I think that's something that we can accept. As difficult as it would be to lose one of these games, if you go and you say, look, we played fantastic, we've ended up coming out on the wrong. As difficult as it is, you can kind of take it. Um, but it's when you're a million miles off it. That's the tough bit. So go and replicate the performance, and you'd hope in that sense the result takes care of itself.
Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, it's always encouraging that, of course, the teams below us, like Blackpool, Wigan, Huddersfield, are not really picking up any points on the way, and it's even more encouraging that even teams above us slightly, so like QPR dropping points, Swansea dropping points. I think bar us, the team that are picking up points at the moment is Rotherham, and the fact that the likes of Swansea and QPR can easily find themselves back down in that battle to stay up is even more encouraging for us. And I think that's the big effect that Sabri's had. I think he's managed to implement a lot of emotion and more of a football's such a lot of psychology goes into football nowadays. Like, you see all these up and coming young managers like we've had in the past, like Steve Morrison and then Mark Hudson, who got chucked into that hot seat for a short stint. Like, they're at that stage of their career where they're more focused, like tactically, and how they strategize, how they play out their side. But it just feels like with Sabri that he's allowing them to play to their strengths and to approach every game with no fear and put no expectations on them, and it's really gone such a long way with us. And there's players that have always been questionable throughout the season, like the number of times I've called out Shea Ojo after performances, a number of times where the likes of Philogene gone missing, and where the midfield's been very ineffective, the defence has been poor, and it just feels like it's completely night and day since Sabri's come in. And it goes to show like how lucky we really were that the board saw something in Sabri that can really make a big difference for us moving forward.
Yeah, I think you called it that. One too many experiments had left you in this position, so they've gone out and got someone that is established and has had success. Obviously, limited success with Nottingham Forest. There was, nothing to write home about, no promotion or anything, but it had got him into that top six, so knows what he's doing. He recognised the job. There's a 6 point buffer now. You're a point behind QPR that can't buy a win. Only 5 points behind Swansea. By the time the derby comes around, you could be going above them.
Yeah.
So things turn around extremely quickly. Um, and yeah, look, Preston it'll be a big game, but that's the thing. You look at the bottom three. Obviously, Huddersfield rock bottom. I think Wigan have maybe got a game in hand, and then Blackpool. But you can't really touch wood, but you can't see these teams picking up masses of points. They seem to, even if they get themselves in the position, they just kind of let it go, or they don't have the knack of winning, and that's kind of what Cardiff have found. And we spoke about this, if you can pull together, some results and just get that knack of winning, you all of a sudden you'll create the distance. And I think QPR fans have got to be worried because they have just
Yeah,
lost.
yeah.
They have just lost. Only I can see Wigan. I see Wigan picking up a few points. Obviously, you know, um, a big tragedy for Blackpool. Obviously, with one of their fans sadly passing away on the weekend, could galvanise the football club, something like that, to try and go out um, and pay their respects. They've got a few good players in the Blackpool. Charlie Patino's a good boy. Unfortunately, they've got Mick McCarthy as a manager, which kind of negates anything that
That
you've got.
kills off
So
all hope, doesn't it? Yeah.
I could see, like I said, like Sean Maloney's Wigan picking up a few points, and I think anybody at the moment fancies himself against QPR, and QPR just can't seem to stop the rot. And there's a few big injuries, and I'm not quite sure. I think I see at one point that London Dykes was in hospital or something. So and
Oh,
he's been
okay.
a big. That was a wee while ago. I don't know if he's back or what the situation is, but he's been a big player for the last couple of seasons. Not that he scores
Yeah.
masses of goals,
Oh, well, I think
maybe.
I think this season in particular, especially when Michael Beale was at the helm, was firing left, right, and centre at one point. Went for a real purple patch and looked to be a very key player for QPR. But since we've seen Michael Beale jump ship to Rangers, and then they
But
had that, who was it from Blackpool that they took on, which obviously didn't go too well, and then got the boot a few weeks back, and yeah, like QPR going for a right slump, and so is Swansea as well. Like the amount of Swansea fans that are calling for Russell Martin to leave now is ridiculous. Like, again, this is such a big opportunity for us to really pounce on the opportunity of climbing up the table as far as we can and as far away from that bottom three as possible.
yeah, like, need to turn the screw
Mm.
and and really pile it on. Um, but you'd be worried if Wigan were to get a result. If you as a QPR fan, you would be worried. I think because they're on whatever they're on, 31 points or whatever, maybe 32. If they get a result and it brings them up to 35, QPR are sitting there on 38, and
Mm.
I think they still have to play each other. So, you would be petrified of, you know, the trap door opening. So I think it's one of those it's gonna go the way down to the wire, but hopefully, from yours and our point of view, it's something that's going down to the wire, and Cardiff are, just sort of hanging around in mid-table, thinking about, what comes next and next season and building on, obviously, Sebre coming in and the success that he's had and building to go again next season because the likes of Ojo, fellas, if you can't keep him, obviously it's a big loss. You don't get attached to lone players. We've said this multiple
No,
times.
exactly. Yeah.
But if you could get him back, and you know, Connor Wickham and any kind of people are the kind of players that if you can kind of get in the right headspace, and they can maybe find something. They've sort of been in and around that kind of Premier League setup and the Championship setup. So um, yeah, hopefully it's just not a backward step now. Big results should have a massive feel good factor around the city for a week. And like you said, hopefully a good following that goes up to Preston to cheer City on, and we hope for another positive result.
100%, mate. Yeah, 100%. And even looking at other fixtures around it, like we have West Brom at home midweek after Preston, away to Rotherham, which will be very difficult because they've been on quite a run themselves recently. Then it's the South Wales Derby, away to Blackpool afterwards, home to Sunderland, haven't played well recently. Watford away won't be easy. Stoke at home won't be easy. Been playing well. Huddersfield at home should beat them. And then the final day away to Burnley, and hopefully at that point they've guaranteed promotion back up to the Premier League, and they have nothing to play for, and we have something to fight for. at that point, maybe, who knows, and we can go and cause an upset. But, nah, like you said, things are looking exciting once again for Cardiff City, which is something that is quite hard to come by nowadays. And so, yeah, couldn't be happier after Saturday's result, and, long may it continue, mate.
100%.
Well, we haven't got Cam with us tonight, as we said at the start, but I guess we will have a quick discussion about it. Spurs came away from Molyneux this weekend, losing 1-0 to Wolves. I don't know if you caught any footage of that game, Joel, but from what I saw, it seemed like Tottenham were the better side from the first half, and then just capitulated in the end, and seemed that everything went wrong for them.
I just don't. I don't get Tottenham. I didn't see any of
It's
it.
very bizarre.
I heard. I heard through. I think it was BT Score or whatever that Porro hit the bar towards the end of the first half of the free kick, and that Tottenham were on top for most of the first half, and then the next time I looked towards, or the next sort of time they went across, Wolves are winning, and yeah, it's so strange. Tottenham put in a really good performance and then just completely backtrack. So beat Chelsea. The game wasn't great, but beat Chelsea and then do that. They beat City and then get a turnover. So it seems they get a good result and you think, all right, here we go. You're going to go on a run there and secure top four, and then they just don't. And I think that's a pattern that we've seen a lot. With top four, it seems like nobody really wants it. We had that joke last season when Arsenal were choking and Tottenham were making it difficult for themselves. Newcastle are dropping points. They're drawing a lot of games. All of a sudden, Liverpool are back in the the mix. But again, Liverpool seem susceptible to be beaten by anyone this season at any given point. I'm sure they'll be glad that they don't have to play Wolves again because they've had their number for most of the season. But look, Wolves have a fantastic manager with a lot of pedigree. In obviously through the connections, the Portuguese connections that the club have, they've been able to secure, the former Sevilla manager and I think the former Spain manager. So, a real good coach. And yeah, I think he made some tweaks at half time and obviously recognised things weren't going the right way, and that was enough. Tottenham had a bad week, getting beat by Sheffield United, which was obviously out of the cup, and then followed up with a disappointing performance at Molyneux. So the season really dead. They've got AC Milan in the week at home, and they've got to overturn a goal deficit there, but they'll need to play a lot better than what they did in either of those games. I know that there was a few changes with the Sheffield United game, but it was Sheffield United.
Just such a bipolar team right now, Spurs. Known Spurs, they'll go and beat Milan in the week, and then they'll go and lose on the weekend. I don't know who they play next in the Premier League, but it just seems like such a consistent pattern with Spurs at the moment.
I'd be amazed if they got top four. I really would.
Yeah. Forest
just
at home.
Because it's just got all the hallmarks of them.
Yeah, it really does.
Chucking the game. You know what I mean? So, I wouldn't bet against them. Like you said, beating Milan comfortably. Putting on a performance. Harry Kane, turns up under the lights, and Kulusevski, Højbjerg's everywhere, and they put in this real performance, and then people are chatting again, saying, where was this on the weekend? And then Nottingham Forest come to town. I think only won once on the road all season at Southampton, and your pal turns up, brings his Nottingham Forest team there, and gets a result, and that's the kind of season that they've been having. They've easily beaten in both of the North London derbies, which is not a characteristic of Tottenham. Over the last sort of 5 years, normally they turn up for those games and are normally very poor against Chelsea, and they get a result. I think it's the first goal when that boy was it Skip that scored.
That was the first. Yeah.
That was the first goal that they'd scored against Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, it'll be interesting. Milan are no slouches, like the likes of Rafael Leao and that they'll be coming to they'll not be coming to sit back. They'll be coming to win the
Yeah,
football
and kill
match.
the tie
So
off. Yeah,
and they'll be dangerous on the counter. Giroud to be there to to rain more pain on Tottenham through his Arsenal connections and his Chelsea connections, and we've seen the impact that he can have. So it'll be difficult. Obviously, Tomori as well, the boy at the back. So
yeah,
they've a decent team,
very
AC
strong
Milan. Obviously,
team, Milan. Yeah,
Serie A champions last year. Obviously, Napoli are runaway leaders this year, and barring their court match fixing and get deducted points, they're going to be champions, and you can never rule anything out in Italy. Um, but obviously, at the moment, until that happens, AC Milan Serie A champions, so need to be respected. But yeah, would it be completely shocking off the back of this piss poor result they've had at Molyneux that they go and get a result, but then, like we said, then wouldn't be out of the spectrum for them to capitulate and get beat at home to Nottingham Forest.
yeah. I can imagine them interviewing like the AC Milan faithful and Gennaro Gattuso being there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and being asked, "Oh, what's your opinion of Spurs this season?" Ah, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Hmm. I hope they invite Joe Jordan back.
Oh,
That'd be a nice
mate,
one.
fucking hell. Jesus Christ, get that reunion going with them having a scrap on the touchline. It'd be brilliant.
Sit sit him right behind the dugout, just giving Gattuso the finger like.
Yeah, but knowing Spurs this season, they'll go and beat Milan, and then on Saturday they'll lose to fucking Forest, and we'll be seeing the post press conferences after, and Steve Cooper's excited face like this. Fucking mong.
You love him, didn't you?
Andre Ayew wanking him off. And John Joe Shelby fucking motting him out. But we were just speaking then about last season where Arsenal were, again, like, bottling that top four. And it seemed as if in that game against Bournemouth that they were going to be the old Arsenal that we've been familiar with in the past, where conceding the first 20 seconds at home to Bournemouth
It was 9 seconds, wasn't it?
Was it 9 seconds? Was it less than 20? Fuck
Yeah,
me.
9 seconds.
9 seconds. And then going 2-0 down and...
Do you know what? So Bournemouth went two up, and I had a look at Arsenal to win at that point
I
on
think we all did, didn't we? I
bet
think
bet
that was everything we did.
Bet365 and a tenner, and they were only at 9-1,
Hmm.
so I didn't put it on. And then they scored pretty quickly. Um,
Cut back down
uh,
to 4-1.
yeah, so but not I wasn't surprised at all. This Arsenal team, uh, I don't know if they have enough to go all the way. Like this wasn't happening at the start of the season. Like 2-0 down to Bournemouth at home wasn't happening.
No.
You wonder winning this late in games and being pushed all the way and having to dig yourself out of these things constantly, like they've had to do the Villa and the Bournemouth and the Brentford game that they drew and City, having to go through this. There will be a fatigue that starts to build. It's an extremely young team, um, but yeah, I wasn't surprised that they dug himself out. But we'll see. Like I said, it's a long season. There's still quite a few to go, and I think the mental fatigue might catch them, and they might drop a few more points. And if they do, then it'll all be about how they go to the Etihad. Barring that City that obviously don't look the juggernaut that they've been in previous seasons, don't slip up anywhere else, which we can't rule out. Obviously, a good result against Newcastle at the weekend,
Yep.
but if City sort of get on that sort of champion run, that we see Man United do so many times, where they just churn them off, and we've seen City do in recent seasons, going up against Liverpool, accumulating incredible points totals. If they start to get on that run, it'll be interesting to see what Arsenal do. But you know, bottom of the bottom of the league, so it was top of the league and all the confidence, all the momentum in the world against bottom of the league that probably once they got 2-0 just wanted to sit back and defend for their lives. And when you're down there, it tends to happen that way. Obviously we see Spurs do it to them earlier in the season at home where they threw away the 2-goal lead. So they've had history for this, they've had form for it. So I wasn't overly shocked, but we'll see. I think Arsenal, they've got some really winnable games now. I think we're looking at them and they've Palace coming up and Southampton maybe. On paper, there's some really winnable games.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they go. But they could definitely put together a run and really crank up the pressure on City, and would have to see how City respond to that. I still feel at this moment in time, even though there's that 5 point buffer, I just watching so many title races in Scotland and and how quickly you can wipe out a 5 point lead, especially with a game still to play against that team. Really, it's one mistake. If City were to go
We've seen bigger deficits
flawless,
be wiped out before as well.
yeah, if City were to go flawless, which I don't think they'll do because they're not that same, just machine, that result machine. But if they were to go perfect, then it takes Arsenal to have one mistake, and it's an incredibly young team. Whatever happens, it's been a fantastic season for
Mm.
Arsenal, and an incredible,
Absolutely, yeah.
incredible season. To go from where they were, 2 years ago, finishing eighth, to then the Europa League, and then you know come on and be up there 5 points clear of a team that's been the elite of the Premier League over the last few years is fantastic. So they probably, if they don't win the league, they probably will feel incredibly disappointed because we're in
Mm.
March and they're five clear. But they've still got to go to the Etihad. They've still got to go to Anfield, and we see what can happen there. I think they have someone else in and around there as well. So they've got this run, but then they come onto a slightly harder run afterwards, and that'll be big. I think it's maybe I want to say Chelsea they have to play, but I'm not confident. But we'll see. Obviously everyone will be wanting to ruin their season. Chelsea fuck all to play for. You know what I mean? So they'll be
Yeah.
they'll be wanting to they'll be wanting to ruin Arsenal's season. So we'll see. We'll see if they can cope with the pressure. I still lean at the moment towards City, but for me, City is that world champion on the ropes in boxing terms. It can't take another punch, but they could easily deal with that lethal knockout blow themselves. They've been there, done it, tried and tested, and sometimes that means a hell of a lot. But Arsenal have been fantastic, easily the most consistent team of the season. They deserve to be there. It's about and I'm not less. Everyone said that Leicester was going to fall apart, and they didn't. So Arsenal may prove a lot of people wrong and hold on. Um, but I still think that experience is worth its weight in gold, and the fact that City have done it so many times, that could just be a telling factor.
Yeah. I feel if there's only one slight difference with Leicester and Arsenal at the moment is the fact that Leicester went into that season with zero expectation of seeing that season out coming out on top and winning the league. There's still that impression of expectations around Arsenal because of how many years in the build up to now where Arsenal have always been one of the top six sides. Have we see it all on social media where they were calling out Wenger for years. They went on, they had the regime under Emery, and they've always been that club where they've been challenging for titles. And so there always feels there is that sense of expectation around Arsenal, and rightfully so, because I think every fan knows their club well enough to know where they expect them to finish wherever they are in the football pyramid. And so, if there, of course, there will be that deciding factor as well. But nevertheless, it's been a phenomenal season for Arsenal. I think we've got to take our hats off for the work that Arteta has done, and the team that he's built in his 3-year tenure at the club, and how he's managed to get Arsenal back up there challenging with the likes of Man City, which we know on their day City are the best team in the world hands down. And the fact that they've leading them 5 points and have been top on top of them the majority of the season, it's definitely an achievement in itself. But by all means, it'll be understandable for everyone associated with Arsenal to be distraught if they were to fall at the final hurdle.
Yeah, I think it's a long way from the fall as well, because they're delirious and nothing gets handed out in. I think it's handed out in March.
No, exactly.
Certainly from league standings. So and that's what I mean. Like the mental fatigue of these huge moments and just getting over the line. And how many times can you just get over the line? I don't think it's any coincidence that the Europa League has appeared back, and there's been some really tight games, and obviously Bournemouth. I don't think that's a massive shock. It's a obstacle that I think they'll have to manage and overcome. And obviously one of those other big things was Leicester when they won it. They were going, Saturday to Saturday. They didn't have European football
Yeah.
to contend with. So maybe there's the lesson. Bottom of the league. Bournemouth. That everyone's basically saying a damn come off the back of a trip in game in the Europa League, and it goes to the 97th minute. So maybe there's something in that to learn. Maybe a little bit more rotation in Europe, and prioritise the thing that no Arsenal fan cares about the Europa League.
No,
Like,
absolutely not.
the prize for the Europa League is qualifying for the Champions League. You're going to qualify for the Champions League, so go for
If you
the
put
important
all your
thing.
eggs in one basket and
Just
kill two birds with one stone, the league title is a necessity regardless, and Champions League will come hand in hand with that.
go for the league. This Europa League. Sure, it's a nice thing if you can do both and you can get there. And if they had a big points buff up, sure, go and try and win it all. But are you going to be in this position next season? Maybe. Maybe
Who
if you get
knows?
Champions
Yeah.
League football, you'll be able to bring in better players and build on that squad. So maybe you might. But you know, I think that we'll see. The re-emergence of Chelsea next season. Have spent a lot of money, and whoever's there, whether Potter gets a little bit of time or they bring in another coach, they've spent a lot of money. City will fix whatever they need to, barring points deductions. Liverpool will, if Liverpool manage to get the top four, again they'll go out and refresh. Jude Bellingham's been a name that's been mentioned. So the league is constantly evolving. So will you be 5 points clear in March and have this kind of opportunity next season with the run of games you've got coming up? I don't think so. So prioritise now and go for the league. And if you get knocked out of the Europa League, so fuck. Who gives a shit? Because the ultimate prize with the Europa League is okay, a second bit European trophy, but it's Champions League qualification.
Yeah, it's just pure logic at this point in the season. Chuck all your eggs in one basket, rest everyone, and whatever will happen in the Europa League. But this is where, like you said, with Leicester, they didn't have European football, and so it was just week by week and playing one, maybe 2 games a week, depending on what the schedule was. But with European football involved, it does take a mental and physical toll on all players, and this is now the final stretch where Arsenal need to really rest up those key players and wrap Saka up in cotton wool and protect Martinelli and the other big players they've got, and ensure that they've got them fit and fresh for the final, how many games they've got in the league, and European football will come along with they'll finish in the top four regardless, but with it being the best opportunity they'll most likely get of winning the title, because I imagine we would expect City to come out firing again next season, and hypothetically whatever happens in the summer window, that City will easily go out and improve key areas, like we've always spoken about, that Cancelo's left a big void in the side, and they'll fill that with whoever does crop up, and City will attract anyone and everyone from all the top leagues in the world. And Arsenal, I'm sure Arsenal, of course, will attract some sort of calibre of player, but you'll always choose City over Arsenal. You'll always choose Guardiola over Arteta. And it's common sense. Like, this is the final stretch now, and this is where Arsenal need to push on and ensure that they've got as many of their key players available for those games.
Uh-huh.
But we are approaching that time now. We're going to go into our good old final segment of fantasy football. So, as always, I'm going to go through the top 10 of the league. So, starting up in first place, we still have Mr. Liam I can't even say his name. Liam Standing on a round number of 1,500 points. Second place, we've got Mike, 1,454. Third is me, 1,452. Fourth, You Mayhem, 1,411. Fifth is Joe, 1,401. Tied with Joe, funny enough, is Endrogene on 1,401. Seventh is Akambi Blessing, 1,381. Eighth place is Cam, 1,345. And then below him is Sam Foster on 1,320.
Oh, bit of a gap.
I tell you what, his team may well be lifting the Premier League title, but mate, he's going to have to lift he's going to lift the Tottenham kit around him when he gets it.
Shin pads and all.
Shin pads, fucking moulds, the whole lot. And Cam's still in charge of the shirt printing as well.
Oh, no, he's not. No way.
No, he isn't. I couldn't bear to imagine what name he'd get on the back of it.
Yeah, fucking not a chance.
Probably get like Raul Moat on the back of it or something stupid. Like, I don't even know.
He's definitely not.
Mayhem, pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Of course, buddy.
Ladies and gents, thank you all for tuning in. If you are new to the Football Booth podcast, please make sure to check out all episodes over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Audible. If you'd like to catch all the live recordings, you can catch them over on our YouTube channel at the Football Booth. Whilst you're over there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and that notification bell to keep yourself up to date when the next episode drops. Until next time, guys, I bid you all good night and Nastar.